Hello, I'm Frost, and welcome to my mid-monthly sci-fi gaming update. And as usual, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. Welcome back. So May is usually a quiet month, primarily due to E3 being in June. Now, obviously, it's not actually happening this June, but all the same, all of the production studios, etc., are normally sort of working around June as a date, as a time to announce new material and so forth. But all the same, we still have a bunch of stuff that I can talk about. The first thing I'm going to mention is I'm starting to stream, and I now have a date for that. The launch of my streaming on Twitch will be the 23rd. That's Saturday, 23rd of May. I will be doing like a little bit of a test run on Wednesday, the 20th of May, but my official launch date is on Saturday, 23rd. So then that ties in nicely with the Invasions DLC from Age of Wonders Planetfall, which is actually coming out a few days after that. So I'll be able to stream that and hopefully share it with you. And I'm going to be streaming in the evenings during the UK time. It'll kind of be late afternoon in New York, and on the West Coast, it's going to be sort of around sort of lunchtime. And if you're in Australia, then I'll meet you at breakfast. And all of the details will be on my Twitch profile by the time this video goes out. And my Twitch profile is the same as YouTube, so it's Frosty's OP. And that's about that. All right, so let's crack on. So earlier this month, Population Zero, which I mentioned in the main news, launched on the 5th of May, and it got hammered in the reviews on Steam. Unfortunately, there was some problems. The main one was that it was touting itself as a multiplayer game, but there was no buddy system. And so therefore you couldn't get into the same game session with your friends. And that created a lot of negative reviews. There was then a problem with resources, that you have to gather resources in order to be able to progress. But those resources were shared with all the players that were in that session. And so you ended up with almost like a queuing system of people waiting for these resources to respawn. So, you know, there were some issues there. There was also some quite a lot of comments about glitchy combat mechanics. And the overall opinion is that it looks very pretty, but it was a little bit too early to really release it in early access. And there's still some issues that really affect gameplay. And I think the story we can get from that is that it may be worth holding off a little while before committing to Population Zero, unless you're a big fan and you want to back them, then obviously get the early access now. But be aware, you know, it is still a little bit problematic. Now, also X4 Foundations, Beta 3.2 is now live. It's primarily some quality of life additions. There's a variety of improvements. So, for example, they've added sort of better instructions on how to get around the Paranid maze, which is part of one of the campaigns. And it is pretty confusing, I have to admit. You have to have really good spatial orientation to work it out. But apparently they're going to make that a little bit easier. And then obviously there's quite a lot of bug fixes as well, because it is a very complex game and there's constant work being done on it. So good job, EgoSoft, for being constantly on the case with that. Moving on, Elite Dangerous, we had the first beta and we're now having the second beta. It started on the 11th of May. It's running all the way through to the 26th of May. The first beta was PC only. This one is PC, PS4 and Xbox. And they've already implemented a few of the things that came out of the first beta. The first one is the major cost reductions in all of the modules and the upkeep of the carriers. They've added universal cartographics with the explorers. You now get a full refund on decommissioning, and your Triton consumption has been reduced by half. Also, on top of that, modules and ship storage for the owner only are included with the carrier now, so you don't actually have to buy them to be able to store your stuff. But if you want to share them with other players, then you'll still need to buy the shipyard and the outfitting service for your carrier. More importantly, though, is they're doing this thing called the Beta Blowout, which is going to be at the end of the beta period, which is going to be at the 26th of May is the end. And they're going to essentially, from what I understand, they're going to waive the cost of the carrier. So you don't have to be space rich in order to be able to try out a carrier in the beta. Wait towards the end of the beta and you'll be able to pick one up for real cheap to try out for yourself and decide then whether you want to save up the 5 billion that's going to be needed to buy the carrier. So there you go. So that brings us up to date on Elite Dangerous. Then moving on, Warframe. They have a new expansion as part of their Nightwave series 3, and it's called the Glassmaker. And it includes some cosmetics, but primarily includes like a side quest, which is a mystery that you have to solve, which involves this glassmaker who's a serial killer. So there you go. So we've got some new content for Warframe as well, which is always good. Then on the 12th of May, Halo 2 for PC came out. Once again, I still can't download Halo, still having problems with that, so I can't say much about it. Would love to hear your comments. Let me know if you've been playing Halo 2 and if it's really good with the remake. Then another thing that caused problems for me was the Ghostrunner demo. So this came out on 13th of May. I'm not sure if it's still available, but essentially it's a kind of indie developer title, and you are this space ninja, and it's kind of a platformer with some melee thrown in. It has a bit of a Tenno feel to it from Warframe, to be honest, but unfortunately the shift key, which is the one thing that allows you to move quickly and jump further, just didn't seem to work for me. So I got about 5 minutes in, it was a platform I had to jump, the shift key would not refuse to make me jump further. I tried rebinding it, couldn't get anywhere, had to give it up. So you're welcome to give that a go. Let me know if I was doing something silly, but for me it refused to work, so can't tell you much more about Ghostrunner. But they're hoping to release that pretty soon, I think. Now, let's move on to new releases. So new releases, obviously we've got Age of Wonders Planetfall Invasions DLC, which comes out on the 26th of May, and which includes the Chakrans, which are the lizard people, and the Therians, which are the new NPC race, which are the furries. And then also we've got some new game mechanics, and I will be streaming that, as I mentioned earlier. So looking forward to that a great deal. Then moving on, EVE Online, also on the 26th of May. It's a reminder that the Forsaken Fortress update is taking place on that day. And if you own a Citadel and you have no fuel in it, then it can be killed in one go. There's no there's no shield, there's no armor, goes straight to hull. And if that Citadel is destroyed, you have no asset safety. And if you've got anything there, you will lose all of it. Last reminder, make sure you move your stuff out of a Citadel if you've got no fuel in it. Then they've also got at the moment a Phoenix bundle going, which is some skins and some character mods, and it's to celebrate the relaunch of EVE in China. Now, I don't know whether that means Chinese players can get access, because as far as I know, I mean, I've seen on Tranquility that Fraternity and stuff are a Chinese alliance, and they're busy on EVE Online, but I assume it's going to be the relaunch of their dedicated server for the Chinese players only. So there you go. So we've got a bundle as a consequence of that. Then coming out on early access on Steam on the 27th of May is Drox Operative 2. Now this game was originally released back in 2013, and the clip I'm showing you now is actually from the original Drox. So don't take the graphics into account. This is from 2013 because I haven't been able to find anything on Drox Operative 2 in terms of like trailers or anything like that. But this had a bit of a following back in the day, and it was supposed to be a very good kind of action RPG stroke sandbox game. You have this one ship, and you try and influence what happens in the galaxy with your ship, and obviously you try and mod your ship and improve it to become a powerful entity within that universe. So that looks interesting. And if early access is pretty stable, then I will definitely take a look at that and report back on it. Now, moving on to announcements, we've got World Echoes, which is a mobile game set in the EVE universe. Now, we haven't got a release date for it, but we have an announcement for the release date. And that's going to be on the 17th of May, 6 to 7 p.m. UTC, Universal Standard Time. And that will be on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook streams. So if you're interested in playing this EVE Echoes game, then I recommend you follow this stream, and hopefully we'll find out what the release date is. Moving on from that, the World of Cyberpunk book, let me rephrase that, the World of Cyberpunk book has been announced. And for me, it's showing as releasing on the 16th of June on Amazon. But a guy called Jack Jake on Twitter posted that it's showing for him on the 15th of July, as you can see here. So I'm not quite sure which one is the right date. My concern with that is I'm not going to be buying the book, because I've been avoiding as much as possible all of the talk on Cyberpunk, because I want it to be something really fresh for me. And I'm concerned that there might be some spoilers in the book. So I'm going to hold off, see what people have to say about it. And if it doesn't have any spoilers, then I'd love to have all the artwork for the books. It just looks quite amazing. And the funny thing that I did notice is bringing back to Jack Jake's picture. You have to be 14 years old to be able to get the book. but you have to be 18 to play the game. And we all know now, because of all recent news, about genitals and things like that, that it's quite risque, shall we say. So you have to be 18 to play the game. So it's a bit mean. You can give the book to a 14-year-old and then tell them they've got to wait 4 years to play the game. So tough call. Moving on, we're going to come to delays now. As always, we always have delays. The first one upset quite a lot of people, and that's a Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now, this was supposed to come out on the PS4 and Switch on the 12th of May, and it's kind of a remake of the original from the PlayStation 2 days. And it's been put back to the 26th of May, so it's not that long a delay, but they actually announced the delay like less than 24 hours before it was due to be released. So it kind of didn't go down too well. But it's nearly there now, a few more days, and then Switch and PS4, you'll be able to get your Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Then Elite Dangerous, coming back to that, their next era update, which is their next kind of big update after these fleet carriers. So obviously, we had Horizons and Beyond, and this was going to be the next big thing. And it was going to be out for late 2020. And Frontier have now announced that this is now going to be pushed back to early 2021, but they're going to try and keep it within the financial year. So that means January, February, March of 2021 is when we can expect it. And no one really knows for certain what's in there. There was this leaked roadmap. So this is all rumors, but essentially we were going to get space legs. And what they mean by that was that you'd be able to walk around planets, walk around in ships, and probably walk around other areas like we had in EVE Online for a while, which was walking in stations. We'll then have some first-person shooter gameplay, and you're going to be able to meet the Thargoids face-to-face, which I assume ties in with this FPS shooter side of this update. And then possibly even some base building. So these are all the kinds of things that we might expect, but like I said, these are rumors based on a leaked roadmap, so we will have to see. But the main thing is it's been put back a little while. And then finally, we're going to wrap up. And I need to bring this up. So this is more simply space or sci rather than science fiction. It's just pure science. But I wanted to mention it. SpaceX have brought out an ISS docking simulator. And it's on a website. So it's like, embedded in a web page. And this is the link right here. And I will pop it in the description, of course. Like always, anything I talk about here, I always put in the description, especially when it's things like betas and stuff like that. Just so you know, this docking simulator is not easy. You think you have it nailed, and then you start drifting, and then it all goes wrong. So I wish you luck with it. I haven't managed to dock yet. I've only had a quick little go at it, but rest assured I am going to return to that and give it a damn good go, because I want to dock that Dragon crew module and not leave the poor astronauts stranded in space. That wraps it up for this mid-May update. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Please give me a like if you did. You can dislike as well. That's okay. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified of my next video release, because I do release regularly. As always, thank you for watching. That's a wrap. Bye for now.